Hey, what's up, guys? Tukey here, back again with another episode of my Cincinnati Reds Draft to Glory franchise mode series right here on MLB The Show 18. You know the deal. We have a lot to get to in this episode as we look to set up the roster for our next season. We left with the big questions of what to do with these four. Depending on what we do with these four players, it affects the rest of the team in terms of who stays and who goes. We'll get to that in a moment, though. First up, I want to get to a couple of your comments. Again, Charlie, we're just drafting players. No real players, only players through the draft. So that's why there's no real players. And to Scott, it's not very nice, Scott. You should feel upset. You should feel bad. Don't be toxic. Don't be toxic. Maybe the last episode was the first episode of the series that Charlie watched. And he said, this might be cool. I might check out the rest of it. And then you're toxic, and he says, well, I don't know how you type that, but maybe that's what he said. So Scott, smarten up.
There is one simple rule, and that rule is this!
Let's see, what else do we got here? Puck Nerd, I think you go 15 years on Bloom so that you can decrease the average, thereby decreasing the hit for your funding. I think you have to keep Shipman over Melendez, which was a very common opinion. A very common opinion. And, just going over the rest of that, don't pay Allen, which is probably the smart move. Eliza, don't take the compensation. Hiora and Melendez need to go. I'll drop the closers things for now, but look at WAR and FIP for pitchers. Look at WAR, walk percentage, K percentage for pitchers, and ISO, which I will, for the most part. I might still be lazy, but damn it, I will commit to giving you the information to let me know if I done goofed on a decision. Ronnie Donnie, if one of the closers starts complaining about being non-closer, couldn't you switch them to a reliever? Yes, they still might complain, though, depending on the overall, I think. And to Ice Hawks, I'm sorry about the Mariners. Maybe they'll be good in another 5 years. But you're right, at least you'll have a hockey team in the near future. So that said, let's get down to business here. And the first step, of course, is re-signing one Bobby Bloom. We are going to go for the 15-year attempt. We will be able to lower the money total. Now, I'm going to edit this offer a lot, if need be, just to try and save as much money as we possibly can. So over the next few days, I am going to be a little bit tedious when it comes to trying to get Bobby to stay. We need to save as much money as we possibly can. And the fact is, he might be the one big name that we get to keep unless we up the team's budget, which is a possibility. I'm thinking 28 might be the lowest that he accepts. So $420 million just for the memes. We'll see if he's willing to accept that. Hopefully he is. Keston Hiura is going to be on the way out, so we'll tender him a qualifying offer. We are going to try and keep Henry Shipman over MJ Melendez. So we'll see what we can do on this front. I gotta be honest, a 4-year deal is a bit much, but otherwise I'd have to pay him even more. The thing is, with this, we could be relatively cheap and just constantly try to sign people to $15 million deals, or to the point where it becomes, God, what's the term for that? I had it and I lost it. Oh no, now I'm angry. My God, what's the term? I can't think of it. This is upsetting. People, you know what I mean, right? Where you hit the 10-year mark, and then 11, 12, 13, 14, diminishing returns. There we go. Jesus. So I could sign everybody to the point of diminishing returns where we no longer get value from the years added, just to try and save a little bit of money. Don't know how well that's going to go down. Are you going to go out of green bar interest yet? There you go. So I'm willing to, I think I'm willing to do that. Probably. Maybe. It's a little bit tough. Maybe in the future. I don't know. Right now I feel kind of, a little bit off about that one. Let's go $6 million a year for Shipman, and we'll see if he accepts that. And for Logan Allen, I don't think we're going to be keeping him at this point. He's looking for a little bit too much money, so the same thing as always. We're going to tender. We'll see if he signs elsewhere. If not, I'm just going to ship him out. So the plan is to keep Bloom and Shipman, which means we will be trading Melendez. But let's move forward a day. And there we go. Both have signed immediately. So we get Bobby Bloom on a slightly cheaper deal, which is extremely helpful because if you look at our budget, money-wise, it's rough. Now, we do have the option through the show shop to increase our franchise budget. I do have the stubs for it. I haven't been keeping up with Diamond Dynasty lately, so I'd be willing to do it for this series. So the option is there if need be. So we'll see how this goes, but that will also be up to you guys. So the plan is to let Hiora and Allen go. With Shipman already signing, we're going to get rid of MJ Melendez now, just to free up that money. I'll double check to see if any teams need a catcher. The Tampa Bay Rays do. So who is your worst player? Rich Corcoran does not have a deal. I need a player who has 1 year left. It's looking kind of unlikely here, Tampa. Jesus, come on. Come on. I might not be able to trade him. Yeah, that's right, because that's right, I gotta wait. Damn it. I was hoping they'd have at least one guy on a multi-year deal, but that's right. With the way the minors work, I gotta wait up until this next phase. So, we do have some players to sign, of course. First step now is waiting a day before we can trade Melendez. I'm impatient, though. The first step is doing what we always do, and that is clearing out the roster just to make sure that we don't lose anybody through the Rule 5, so give me a moment to make these changes. Alright, so the roster is set. Again, by clearing out the roster, all I do is get rid of players that don't belong to us, that we didn't draft, just so that we can double check. You don't want anybody to get buried in the Rule 5 eligibility, so that's all we're doing there. In terms of salary arbitration, we have Post, Glover, and Wilkins that need to be re-signed, and then, of course, everybody else. As you get a look at some of the top free agents available, I am hoping ever so much that we end up seeing one of our guys being signed. Unfortunately, they're pretty far down there, so we'll have to see what happens there. Lincoln Post is the first guy that I think we'll look to bring back. Let's go 3 years at 1.6, which is a little bit much. I'm going to try to get him for cheaper. Let's go 1.5, the max 1.5 we can do, and we'll see what he thinks about that. Will Glover, someone else who's still worth bringing back at that much? Probably not. That's actually really rough. You know what? We're going to wait on that. And I got to be honest, I'm going to withdraw the offer from Lincoln Post. Let's go double check some of these other contracts. I think we have more important people like Norman Garner that we need to sign first. Granted, it's not going to be for much. 3 years at $900K. I could go cheap with him, but we don't want to. We want him to be happy about what he's getting paid. So he's already relatively cheap. Joe Quinlan needs a deal as well. Still only looking for $100K, which is absurd. He's going to be a major league player this year, so we're going to go up to about $800K to keep him happy. Glenn Huff as well. We can still have signed for cheap for 1 more year. Let's go $810. Marlon Puh. We can go $980 for 2 seasons. We'll see how much longer he's around. We'll go for $950. Yeah, we'll just go $1 million, I guess. He wants to be an everyday player. He is going to be quite upset. I just flat out, he is going to be quite upset that he's not playing in that role. Now, I don't know, man. Like, we could let him go for nothing. I'm going to sign him. I'm going to try to get it to work. Odds are it won't. But we'll see what happens. As it is, it's either we lose him for nothing now or we lose him for nothing later. But in the meantime, we can at least see if that contract will work out. Martin Abreu needs a half-decent deal. Joe Bailey, who will probably be in the rotation this year. Try to sign him up for $900K. Let's see, John Johnson, again, finally at the point where he's somewhat usable at the major league level. Bump him up to probably $750. He's going to be on the roster this year. There's not a doubt about that. And you know what? I'm actually going to change up that offer. We're going to go 2 years. We're going to go $800K. And we're going to play him in the bullpen. That's a guarantee. He's going to be there. Steve Carrasco might also be... based on our rotation, he's probably going to be there. I'll still promise him depth, but he's probably going to be a rotation guy this year. So let's go ahead and skip forward a day. Hunter Green to the Dodgers. And now that we've done that, some teams would have signed some players. We can get rid of MJ Melendez as intended. And you know what? Let's take him off of ye old Word document. He is out of here. Do the Rays still need a catcher? They do. Have they signed anybody? Please? Please? Oh, Tampa. All right, we'll still wait. Not soon enough, apparently. Let's go talk to Lincoln Post at this point. We'll go to the, let's go 1-5 still. That works. Will Glover, again, going to be looking to get overpaid, but still willing to sign him, willing to try and make it work with what he's asking for, and we'll see what happens. Decent chance he, and Lee Wilkins for that matter, end up being traded. But for now, from the looks of it, we can at least afford to keep them. As far as these other contracts are concerned, let's go back to Bryant K. Really good chance of him being a bench player this season, so we'll go $650 for him. Josh Rincon will more than likely be in the minors. We'll go up to, he wants to be a platoon role. That's not going to happen, so he's going to be very upset about his role, but it is what it is. Edwin Velasquez has a decent chance of being in the bullpen this year. Peter O'Brien is not ours. Shearer is, and again, might have an outside chance of being in the bullpen this year if need be. I'm going to go $500K for him so he's not horrifically upset about his pay. So let's see. We have until the 23rd there. We have until the 23rd there and December 2nd there. So let's move forward a bit. Brendan McKay to the Yankees. Tim Collins signs as well. Justin Anderson. Brady Singer. Yasnel Diaz. All right, so Post and Wilkins still haven't signed. And who else do we have here? Quite a few players have signed, though. Ramon Vasquez, a former #1 pick, where he wants that platoon role. I don't know if he's going to be worthy of it. Time will tell in that regard. Let's bring back Silva. Trevino will not be in the majors this season at any point. Archie May probably won't be either. We got Dave Miles. Clyde Martin needs to be signed. Andreas Taveras is looking for too damn much. Let's go 1 year at $550. Mendel. Marcus Mendel. Go up to $100K for him. So we have a lot of players now, obviously, taking up spots in the minors. Let's go with the 4-year deal at $550 for Montag. He's just going to be a career minor leaguer, but we might as well take care of that contract now and not have to worry about it again. And you know what? We'll wait from there. So let's move forward. Grenier to the Marlins. And Hiora and Allen have both signed. So unfortunately, we're not going to get anything for them. We are just going to try and ditch them for nothing. Is there a team that could use a little bit more competition in terms of starters? The Blue Jays, more than likely. Do they have a cheap player that we can sign here? Actually, they would have budget issues, unfortunately. So, and actually, I need to pay attention to the money total. Yeah, so the Blue Jays can't do it. I would like to at least help out a team if I'm going to ditch them this player, right? So the Twins could get it to work. So we're going to acquire Napoleon Jasic, who isn't counting as one of our players. He'll be released at the end of next year. He's not safe for us, but he'll be on the roster this season, as we'll send Logan Allen to the Twins. And when it comes to Keston Hiura, he has to go as well. Unfortunately, is there a team that needs an improved shortstop? Very disappointing that he didn't sign elsewhere. And it's also disappointing that there isn't a team who absolutely needs a shortstop. The Dodgers are up there, though. The Yankees, you know what? You have the money to afford him. What do you say? We'll take back Jamal O'Hara. Wow, the Yankees have budget issues. Who would have thought? Let's talk to... You know what? Can I go back to the Giants? Giants... No, it wasn't the Giants. It was the Dodgers. There we go. What do you say, Los Angeles? Can you afford him? We'll take Dwayne Hilliard back. No. Okay, well, I've tried being nice. So at the very least, you know what? I might help out the Rays a lot if they can afford it. What do you say, Tampa? I'm going to do it. We're going to trade Hiora and MJ Melendez to the Rays for Daryl Valentine. So congratulations, Tampa. You're welcome. But that way as well, we free up our cash flow. Again, the negative is that we get nothing for them. A random team gets help. Whether or not they re-sign there, who knows. But that's the one downside. It's not a positive that we acquired a player for them. It's a negative. We just lost somebody that we could have gotten compensation for literally nothing. So it's disappointing. We haven't had a ton of luck in terms of qualified players getting offers, but it is what it is. So again, Allen is gone. MJ Melendez is gone. Keston Hiura is gone. But at the very least, we kept Shipman and we kept Bobby Bloom. So let's move forward here. See about the re-signings. I knew a couple of players would reject. Okay, maybe more than a couple. Austin Dean, Casey, I don't know how to pronounce that name. Let's see. So Velasquez, we still have a couple of guys who are holding out. Unfortunate, but we should have plenty of time to sign everybody, I would say. Not that many left, though. Carter Kieboom to the Diamondbacks. Just Rincon, Vasquez, and Taveras. Those are the 3 holdouts. We have until December 2nd for them to sign, so we do still have time, which is nice. Let's see. Just Ramon Vasquez, the former #1 pick, as a holdout. And he signed. So there we go. Everybody else is back. Budget-wise, we have nearly nothing left to re-sign players. So we are setting ourselves up to either have to use that budget boost, or we're committing to knowing that we're going to lose some players for basically nothing. So we'll figure that out. Let me know what you think as far as a budget boost is concerned. As of course the shortstop grade will change depending on who we move over to shortstop full time. As a bunch more signings happen, we still have the Rule 5 draft to get to, though. Let's do it. We have 1 position player and 1 pitcher. Let's see who we can get, and ideally I'd say we'd take a starter because we're missing a 5th option. And ideally I think Carrasco would have 1 more season. So I'm going to take a starting pitcher pretty much regardless, unless there is a can't-miss reliever, which, like, Roger Blanco is pretty solid, but if we look here, we have 4 or 5. Yeah, we're good. We're good. As it is, John Johnson's probably not even going to need to be used. So we're good in terms of relievers. It could always be better, but, you know, like Bard or a Blanco is not that much better than a Lincoln Post. At least in terms of overall. Now, if you want to talk about the individual grades, sure, but if we're being simplistic about this, we have a much bigger need for starting pitching. So let's see who is available. I mean, ideally we'd take somebody who's a bit more well-rounded, but also not older, because I'd like to have them for more than 1 season. Lauren Hunt, 25B and a 78. Not terrible. Probably won't be lights out, but still not terrible. Is there anybody else? 25B and a 78. Winston Medina. Hits per 9. Medina might actually be better. I wish you could sort this differently. So pretty much straight 60s with 85 stamina. Medina has a 50 and a 70 in there. Medina's probably a little bit better. The walks are a bit lower, but I'd say Winston Medina is probably better. And then you have Polk, who is, better in the Ks per 9 department, but I like Medina a little bit more. Is there anybody else? Now we'd be looking or hoping for like a 23-year-old player, and there is Luis Rodriguez, but the control and break are very concerning. So I think the best pitching option available is Winston Medina, a 25-year-old. No major league stats to speak of, but I think he's our best option. So I'm going to do that. I don't care what position players are available. We're set up so much better. We're going to take Winston Medina as our Rule 5 pickup. And now we'll take a look at who's available position player-wise, which, I mean, in terms of major league catchers, we're good, and prospects. First base, I mean, we're stacked pretty much everywhere. We don't have, like, a real solid shortstop prospect. We have Fernando Chavez, who is a third round, a C potential guy, who I think we actually did draft in the 3rd round. But still, so it's like we have Dennis Finney here, but that's not going to help anything. We really can't afford to take another catcher. I mean, we can, but it's almost like, what the hell is the point, right? So, like Dudley Browning, it's not going to happen. So at first base, we have nobody. Nobody. At second, Mario Trujillo, who, and here's the problem, whoever we take has to play Major League Ball this year. You can't send down a Rule 5 option. So that's why the starter made sense. I don't know who the hell we're going to take here, and to be honest, I might just pass. There's a chance of me just passing on the pick here because I don't know if we can afford to keep... Lucius Fox, you are shitting in my general direction. That's amazing. I want to draft him so badly, too. He could be a half-decent bench player. That's amazing. Holy, Rob Briscoe, by the way. Okay. There's going to be nobody amazing. In terms of outfield depth, too, we're fine. We have too much outfield depth as it is. So I wouldn't say an outfielder's the best way to go. Although Griffin Conine, granted he's 29 years old. I don't know who the hell we're going to take here. I really don't. I mean, Lucius Fox for the name, but even then, I think we're set. I think I'm going to pass on taking a position player. We just don't have space right now. So we're good. We end up getting some starting pitching help, which is nice, but nothing really there for us in terms of position players. So we have a couple of late signings, quite a few late signings, and now let's get to spring training. So the big thing here, of course, will be filling out the roster. We're going to get to the normal draft in this episode, but filling out the roster, getting that depth, and then just trying to figure out who the hell starts in the major league. So I'll be back in a moment with this roster set up and good to go. All right, guys, here we go. The roster is set. We are ready to begin the 2027 season. It's tough to believe we are all ready here. The draft is in a glorious 69 days. Let's take a look, though, at the roster. In terms of our grades, 28th, great speed and contact, not so much everywhere else, which I guess isn't all that surprising. You can see the way things are set up. I mean, it's, you know, I think they're underrating us a little bit in certain aspects. I really do. Before we get in, though, to looking at the roster, let's go to the top prospect list. Joe Quinlan is currently third, but as you can see, he's wearing a certain jersey. He's wearing a certain jersey. We also have Steve Carrasco, 11th. I haven't looked at this list, by the way, so let's see if we have anybody else. Clyde Martin. So the starting pitching help is coming, thankfully. Tom Lau, who we just drafted recently, should probably have another starting pitcher there. But you know what? At least he's decent, and that is it. So we have a couple of names there. So we're looking pretty good. Here's what the roster looks like, though. Mason Denneberg is our ace for this season. Joe Bailey backing him up. From there, we have Thomas Manzanillo, Sean Jelly, and Winston Medina. He is in the starting rotation. Again, we'll see how these guys do. Eduardo Herrera, yet again in as the long reliever. The bullpen is as follows: Norman Garner, Durbin Feltman, Richie Sorvala, John Johnson, setup man Bruce Boyle with the closer, Will Vincent. Now, I have to say this because of some of the names you're going to see in the minors. We didn't lose a single player to waivers, which is shocking because we had to risk a lot of people. But the fact that we didn't lose anybody, including Ramon Vasquez, who was on waivers, is crazy to me. But getting to AAA, we have Steve Carrasco, Clyde Martin is there as well. We have other guys that we need to keep an eye on, like Luis Cedeno, Chris Velez, who we drafted recently, Napoleon Gillis and Lincoln Post are down there. Neither were claimed, which is pretty nice. And then down in AA, there's a couple of names here like Malgrot and Pedro Rodriguez that we'll be paying attention to as well. Lineup-wise, here we go. Starting second baseman, Graham Edwards. Now, the top four is the way it is because those players all demand to be stars. But it's Graham Edwards, Brian Lopez at center, Bobby Bloom, who is just... oh, he's so good. Not that Lopez isn't either, or Graham Edwards for that matter. Steven Ryder also there in the 4 spot in right, Nolan Jones at third, Josh Stowers in left, Henry Shipman, Joe Quinlan at shortstop. We have changed him to a shortstop from a second baseman. There is that topic of discussion of like, okay, well, where would some of these guys be? Because, hell, you could argue that Quinlan might be even a decent outfielder. I moved him to shortstop as opposed to Edwards just off of the better arm rating. Let me know what you think, though. Edwards is an amazing outfielder, whereas Quinlan's just pretty damn good, and he does have the better arm. You could have the argument, though. Third might need the better arm, but regardless, I think they're both solid. I mean, second might need the better arm. Hell, Nolan Jones is good there at third. As far as the bench is concerned, Eduardo Carrillo On the bench for us, Will Glover as well, Lee Wilkins, Josh Rincon, and Glenn Huff. Against lefties, however, though, a couple of guys do get into the lineup. Actually, it's lefty against DH and righty against DH. I think Will Glover, or it was Lee Wilkins, ends up getting a little bit of time. So, intrigued to see what they can do. And then down in AAA, Francisco Jimenez was able to be sent down. Marlin wasn't claimed on waivers. Ramon Vasquez wasn't claimed on waivers. Bryant Kay, Scott Clausen, Martin Abreu. That's a pretty damn strong team, actually. I would expect the AAA ball club to at least finish with close to a winning record. The AA lineup is not yet set, but it will feature the likes of Tom Lau, Stephen Booth, Archie May as well. So we'll see how that goes. Again, we are 69 days out from the draft. We are going through the draft in this episode, so I will talk to you guys in just a moment. Place your bets now. Where will we be in the standings and record-wise once we hit the draft? Again, 78 wins was our best record last season that we've had thus far. Can we get close to that, or will our shortcomings be just a tad bit too much to overcome? Let's find out. So unfortunately, we're not exactly where we want to be. 27-31, 7 games back of the Brewers, because the division isn't quite as close as it was last year, at least up to this point. So, very disappointing. 243 runs scored, a shitload of runs allowed. Try to figure out what the problem is with this team. Pitching and defense. That said, we will take a look at the stats. Let's go now. And then we'll do the draft. So skip ahead a few minutes if you don't care much to look at the stats. But this is what we're dealing with. Mason Denneberg, I mean, a 5-7 record. The ERA isn't horrible, but I wouldn't exactly say he's killing it with this new and improved role. I mean, the WAR is down from what he did last year. The Ks per 9 are down. The walks are up. And the FIP, it's struggling. It's struggling. He's struggling. I'm frustrated. We have Joe Bailey with a 3-2 record. I mean, he's up to an 87 through the Morale system, a 3.23 ERA. He's actually been pretty damn good this season. No real complaints with him. No real complaints. The WAR not exactly where it was last year. The Ks are down. The walks are slightly up, but in comparison as well, a lower FIP. Again, fielding independent pitching. I know what it stands for. Thomas Manzanillo, ERA-wise, again, has also been great this year. 4-4 record, though. He won 11 games last year, but the ERA is way down. And in terms of the WAR, unfortunately, that's down. The Ks are down ever so slightly. The walks are way the hell down. It just hasn't been enough, really. I mean, he's been great, though. That's the problem. I want to say our pitching. Unless things have changed, I've seen who the problem happens to be. It's the bottom two. Yeah, so Sean Jelly, really, I mean, all 6'10" of him. He really hasn't turned it around. 3-6 record on the year. The ERA is the highest it's ever been since he's been in a Reds uniform, so that's great. A .2 WAR on the season. The Ks are up, which is nice. The walks are slightly up. The home runs allowed are up. It's just not ideal for Mr. Jelly, and unfortunately, Winston Medina has been horrific. 1-7 record, 8.0 ERA. I mean, yeah. Should I have taken him out of the rotation a little bit sooner? Probably. Granted, when I checked, it was still early, and I'm like, maybe he'll turn it around. So, we do still have Eduardo Herrera as our long reliever. And he has 2 saves on the season as well. He's not tremendous, but I wouldn't say he's horrific, right? So he could probably afford, we could probably afford to keep him. I think we're probably looking at calling up Steve Carrasco, who hasn't been amazing. He's been pretty good in AAA, but he hasn't been amazing. He's our only other option. So in terms of starting pitching, what the hell do we do with Winston Medina? Do we move him to the bullpen? Do we just say goodbye and, drop him outright? Because remember, we can't send him down. And do we call up Steve Carrasco? What do you guys think there? That's our first real big decision. What do we do with Winston Medina, who has made... Don't you take that smirk off your face, Winston. You've made me look foolish. We have Norman Garner, whose ERA is horrible. The whip isn't god-awful, but it's certainly not great. The WAR's not looking all that great. The Ks are nice, you know. I mean, he didn't have... Actually, how many innings did he pitch last year? Oh, come on, I gotta scroll all the way back. Okay, he's already seen more work this season, so we really can't judge it off of last year. Durbin Feltman, actually doing quite well. I'm a big fan of those numbers thus far. So he's looking like a half-decent option at this point, where he's had some questionable numbers in the past. So that's all right. Richie Sorvala, not as hot. Not as hot. So not absolutely horrific, but not great by any stretch of the imagination. We also have John Johnson, who, again, same thing, not absolutely horrific based off the ERA and the whip, but still not ideal. Not ideal. Yeah, so we do have other options where we can potentially send him down. If we do, he has to go through waivers. But we do have the likes of Napoleon Gillis, Velasquez, probably not yet, and Lincoln Post. So probably Post would get the call-up if we want to send down Johnson. The biggest issue here is that Bruce Boyle has been horrific. Actually, I haven't even realized. Big thing here too, expectation is closer. He's the first guy to finally get to that point. So, you know what? Let me see if we can do what we want to do. Whoops, that's right, I got to go to roster. So for Bruce Boyle here, if we change you to a reliever, does that solve the issue? It should, I believe. Okay, no, he still wants to be the closer. So, which is what I thought would happen. So, that's an issue, but the problem is, I mean, he is just having a woeful season. So we probably will take him out in terms of him being the setup man, and more than likely we could give him time to turn it around, but it's been pretty bad. I mean, the walks have almost tripled, the home runs are way up. He's been absolutely brutal this year. Will Vincent has been pretty solid, 12 saves. ERA is low, but of course it is for a closer. The whip is pretty solid. So I think that's the big issue. We can at least realize who the problem happens to be at the moment, at least in the bullpen. It's Boyle and Johnson, and Jelly and Medina not quite getting it done, especially Medina. But again, we do have call-up options. And then lineup-wise, Graham Edwards, 5 home runs, 20 RBIs in the year, 241 average, a 310 on base, which is pretty good. Maybe not the best you would hope for a leadoff guy, but that's still not too bad. I'm not really complaining. 8 errors on the year. The WAR's a little bit down, though. So a tad bit concerned. I mean, he's not drawing as many walks. He's not striking out as much, though. Just a weird setup for Graham thus far. Brian Lopez, 8 home runs, 28 RBIs, 9 stolen bases with a 246 average on the year, 295 on base, 424 slugging. All right, what else are we looking at here for your numbers? 3 errors on the year. Man, from a 4.3 WAR last year to now a minus 0.1. Also not ideal. He's not drawing as many walks, and he's striking out a lot more. Maybe he can't handle the pressure being the second guy in the lineup, but the only option really would be to switch him out with Ryder. We look at Bobby Bloom, who is doing Bobby Bloom things. 5 home runs, 22 RBIs, a 307 average. The on-base percentage is still strong. Slugging, not quite what it was last year, though. But I'm not exactly complaining. But then again, when he's making the money that he's making, maybe, just maybe, he should be doing a little bit better. Same thing, not drawing as many walks as he did last year. We then get to Steven Ryder, who's having a great season. Potential all-star for us, actually. 12 home runs, 39 RBIs, 5 stolen bases, and a 303 average. So he is thriving in this role right now. 903 OPS. Not too shabby at all for Mr. Ryder. One of the few players with a positive WAR on the season thus far. Nolan Jones also having a pretty good year. 6 home runs, 27 RBIs, and a 260 average. The on-base is a little bit lower, so again, you can kind of see where we have our underperforming players. Some of our big names are underperforming. Certain pitchers are underperforming. Josh Stower's doing pretty well. 5 home runs, 25 RBIs, and a 271 average. So Stowers is doing much better with more consistent play time. Whether or not it stays that way for him, time will tell. But not too bad for him. Henry Shipman, he's down to a 76. For him right now, it's just the fact that he's not playing to a great level. But 3 home runs, 21 RBIs, a 247 average. So the numbers have dropped a little bit. Maybe changing his spot in the lineup would help. But he hasn't exactly been what we were hoping he could have been coming off of a really strong last season or prior season. Joe Quinlan is doing phenomenally so far in his rookie season. No complaints at all. 5 home runs, 27 RBIs, 9 stolen bases, a 259 average, 350 on base. Very happy with what I'm seeing from Joe Quinlan at 20 years old, man. The future of this team, positive WAR, not drawing that many walks, striking out a decent amount of times. So, I mean, if he's getting a hold of the ball, good things happen. It's just, does he get a hold of the ball? As far as the bench is concerned, Eduardo Carrillo has not done much. He's only seen 8 at-bats. Glover, 2 home runs, 11 RBIs, a 376 average, and 85 at-bats. My God. Maybe we should get him into the lineup just a tad bit more. He only had 85, or he has 85 at-bats this year. He only had 134 last year. Speaking of doing better with that extra play time, Will Glover, man. He might deserve that extra bit of time. Lee Wilkins as well. 2 home runs, 9 RBIs, and a 370 average. Just to get you a look at some of the basic hitting stats as well. He might deserve some extra time. Rincon, a 274 average, and Glenn Huff only a 208. So, you can kind of see the problem areas. There's a couple of things we could do. Again, top 4 has to stay the same to keep people happy morale-wise. So maybe switching Ryder and Lopez potentially, or even Lopez and Graham. You can see where maybe we could change some things around. I would like to get Wilkins and Glover a bit more time, but it's like, how the hell do you do that? Glover's backup position's right field, but he'd be a terrible outfielder, so the only way to do that is with him being a DH, but we're in the NL, so it's not a major factor. Same thing with Wilkins. Just how do you get these guys playing time, especially when someone like Nolan Jones is doing quite well. The big thing here, though, I think lineup-wise, would just be changing the order around. And then rotation-wise, Medina, Johnson, and Boyle, the big concerns. So that is the update on what has happened this season. Let's go ahead and get to the draft. We are 28-31 now, 28-32. So we're still close to 500. We have a decent shot at potentially turning things around and making it towards the playoffs. But here's the crucial thing. For the first time, we are outside the top 10 in terms of picks. We pick 11th. So that pressure is off to get the best player available. Now we can just draft. I mean, odds are we'll still take the best player available, but now we can draft for need more so than we could before. So we start off with Fred Scandura, the reliever, who is pretty solid, actually. I don't know if we'd want to take him this early on, but he's an option. Jesus Urban, Urban, perhaps, who is nothing special, but will have a really good potential. So he's a possibility, but not anywhere near a guarantee of being amazing. Again, he's going to be a low overall, and it's going to take him a long time to develop. We have Jim Smith in the left, who is fairly well-rounded at the plate. Not the best hitter in the world, though. He's also okay. Like, none of the 3 have won me over thus far. We have Tom Parks, who's 21 and 4+ years away, so we're going to avoid him. But we do have Robbie Monk, the second baseman, who has decent contact, okay power, okay vision and discipline. Again, nothing amazing, just fairly well-rounded, and that's it. Promising, at least. You have Dwayne Arrington, who is 22 and 3 years away, so no thank you. Vince Alfaro, the starting pitcher, who is nothing special, really. Sorry, Vince. Who else do we have? Alexis Cabrera, who's 21 and is going to be ready next year. Hello, Alexis. Great contact, great vision and discipline. Power's a bit weak, but the fielding's strong. Alexis Cabrera might be my pick right now. More so than Jim Smith and more so than Scandora at least. But the one downside, of course, is that he's not blue chip. So I could go with potential in Urban or Monk, or I go with Cabrera, who looks like he's going to be really good right out of the gates. Rod Wagner will avoid. Reggie Smith is 20 and 4 years away. Not better than Cabrera. Corey Hughes, of course we don't have any info on those guys, they're a little bit older. We have Jason Young, who's 19 and ready in 4+ years. Also fairly well-rounded, not better than Cabrera, but would be a really good second-round pickup if he falls. He is pretty well-rounded. I like Cabrera a little bit more, though. I think he's just a bit a bit further ahead. Kurt Escobar, wish I had information on him. We don't. We're actually out of the 80s now, but I'm still going to look. We have Antonio Lorenz, who, Jesus. Great contact, vision and discipline, decent fielding, great speed. Antonio Lorenz. The thing is, it's not a full report, so he could potentially be an 80. We don't know for sure. We also have Jack Leon, who is not as great as the other two, especially with high injury risk. Will Jernigan's 21 and is ready in 2 years. Also pretty damn good, pretty well-rounded. So, I mean, that's the thing. If we can get 2 out of 3 already between Cabrera, Lorenz, and Jernigan, we're looking pretty good. But in terms of pitchers right now, that's where my concern is. You have Yoenis Cook, who is ready in 3 years at 18 years old. Jesus, high injury risk, but is probably worth it. So I don't know, in terms of high potential talent, what we're looking at, but there are definitely options here. Kenny Domaromo, tremendous name. Unfortunately, not a tremendous prospect, just okay. But man, for that name, that'd be a hell of a pickup. Adrian Parra is ready next year at 22. And in terms of a starting pitcher, could be our guy. There's no way to know for sure, but from what I'm seeing there, that's pretty good. The accuracy is not spot on, though. Kerry Starkey, we don't know anything about. Elvis Guerrero is well-rounded, but nothing special. It doesn't put him onto the top of the list or anything. Edmundo Guerra is okay. Decent power, decent fielding. Also not bad. So I don't know. It's tough whether or not I just go with one of those 2 blue chippers, or if I go with my gut and just take someone based off of attributes. Willie Ivey? Jesus. Okay. So we are guaranteed some great players here in the second and third round, no doubt. Portillo is also great. Whether or not we need him, I don't know, because of course we already have the issue with 2 people wanting to be the closer. William Tao is a 22-year-old catcher who's going to be ready next year. Jesus Christ. I think William Tao is at the top of the list. I think William Tao might be at the top of the list, guys. He's going to be ready next year. Are you kidding me? Whoo, boy. I'm happy, though, because there's no way we're not getting some good players. Burkett is okay. Davis Craven has a great name. He's also fairly well-rounded and not that bad. Who else do we have? Felipe Ortiz. Nothing special. Man, there we go. We're done with the 75s. So the 2 names that really stuck out to me that weren't blue chippers are William Tao, who we know is a 75 potential but could be a really strong option, and Cabrera at second. For obvious reasons. Now, Cabrera for me is more likely because he could be a legitimate 80 potential or up. We don't have a full report. The big question here, though, is with as much talent as we're getting, is it worth taking one of the blue chippers in Urban or Monk? Probably Monk, because it'll give him a little bit more time to develop. Is it worth taking one of these 2 just to try and get a project into the system because we know we're going to get a decent player in the next round? Or do I just outright say, screw it, we're taking a Cabrera, a Lorenz, or a Tao right now? In terms of hitting, Monk has the advantage ever so slightly over Urban. Fielding-wise, yeah, I think it better reaction for Urban. Yeah, so it's either we take Robbie Monk, who's just well-rounded and might turn into a really good player, or I take someone who's a bit more ready now. And I got to be honest, I think I'm going to play the long game here, and I'm going to take Robbie Monk, who, you know, a few years from now could be solid. But if I take Cabrera here or Tao, that just, I mean, it does cause more issues, but this is a real tough call, and I can't wait to hear the sides of the arguments for what I should have done. Just the well-roundedness of Alexis Cabrera, though. God damn. And then there was, like, Lawrence as well. Cook, Jernigan, Parra. You have Tao at catcher, which, I mean, we already have Abreu, so we really don't need Tao. And in terms of, you know, infield, we really don't have space for someone now. Like, if Nolan Jones goes, it works. So maybe it would make sense to take Cabrera and potentially just move him over to third. He has a really good arm. I think that would make more sense than Tao. So to me, it comes down to Monk or Cabrera. And I'm a little bit afraid of Robbie Monk having like a really low overall and being that type of guy, much like everyone's favorite third baseman, Ramon Vasquez, who might not ever develop. And I know we need a starting pitcher as well. I like Donnarumma more than I liked Alfaro. So I'm confident I could get, or Domaromo. I'm confident I could get him later on. I gotta go with my gut on this one. I think Alexis Cabrera is too good to pass up. This backfires if that potential isn't a B. But if it is, it's a big win. I'm trusting my gut on this. I'm going with Cabrera, and Monk was taken with the very next pick. So let's take a look here. Let's see. Actually, Urban was taken with the next pick. So Urban and Monk are off the board. I might have made the Yankees and Dodgers quite happy. Ah, damn it. There was a dude on Seattle as well. I just remembered I missed a comment. There was a dude on Seattle that someone wanted me to look at. I'll see if I can find him in a minute. Scandora's off the board. Ivy's off the board. I'm just trying to actually keep track of this here. William Tao goes to Pittsburgh. Who else do we have here? Yoenis Cook is off the board. I actually didn't mark him down. Mario Portillo is off the board. Hernandez, Castillo, Reggie Smith. In the in-between, I think... Domaromo went to, as did Alfaro. So we'll see who's still here. Nobody there to start that I was overly interested in. Adrian Parra was on the list and might be the next guy to take. We have Parra. We have Craven. I didn't have Guerrero on the list, or Walton for that matter. Felipe Ortiz, not all that impressive. And Lamar Walton, if I could trust it, could be pretty good. So the 75s and up. Let's take one more look here. So we have Will Jernigan, who is fairly well-rounded. Might not be needed, though, considering we just took another infielder. We have Edmundo Guerra, who is okay, but nothing amazing. Antonio Lorenz, who was also looking pretty damn good. Seems like he could be destined to be C potential, though. Felipe Ortiz, who is okay, but nothing great based off of what we know. So that could work. So again, Jernigan at second, Guerra at center field. You have Lawrence in right and Ortiz as a starter. Lamar Walton, who's going to be ready in 2 years once he's 24, but he's also looking okay. But I think we have to go for a starter here more than anything. Elvis Guerrero is okay, and I know some people are going to be pissed that I didn't just take a picture there because I talked about drafting for need, but Nolan Jones being 28 kind of made it acceptable in my mind. And then Adrian Parra, who I think has to be the pick here. Yeah, he's going to be. We're going to take the starting pitcher, Adrian Parra. He's 22. He's going to be ready next year. The attributes in terms of projected versus current are a bit low, but because the report's not accurate, I'm willing to take the risk. We are taking Parra here in the second round, and we do have 2 compensation picks, which is quite nice. So let's see. We know Parks isn't that bad. Craven's okay. Jernigan's still there. How many other 75? Jesus Christ. Okay, so quite a few guys are still there. I need to double-check starting pitching, though. So we go to Ray Nielsen, who is fairly terrible. I mean, hits, velocity, control are all terrible. Everything else is okay. I mean, he could just be a good breaking ball guy. I wish control was a little bit higher. He allows a lot of hits as well. So, not really feeling that. Mariano Pena, 18 years old, who's going to be ready in just 3 years. Similar thing where it's nothing amazing. Drew Sanchez, also not amazing. It's kind of tough to go off of some of this stuff. Juan Gomez, not looking that great. Ricky Ridley. Amazing name, but absolutely not. I think we're good. It's just really tough here. Let's take a look at our top players available, shall we? Because I honestly don't know who the hell to take, because I still want to draft for need, but the odd for best player available still there. So Tom Parks is well-rounded, but nothing special. Rod Wagner, of course, we'd avoid, and actually Parks we'd want to avoid too. Arrington, let's avoid. So Davis Craven, I know, was okay, but I'd probably rather just take a risk elsewhere. Same for Jernigan. Really good contact. Vision and discipline's okay. Pretty decent outfielder, not really. Guerrero, fairly well-rounded, but we don't really need an outfielder. Jack Leon, same thing. Walton Guerra. Scott Donnelly. Like, I'm just trying to see if there's anyone where it's like just undeniable that, yeah, we should take this guy. I mean, Walton has that decent contact. Abdul Best is not the best, but he is relatively fast. And then there's the likes of Ray Nielsen, Mariano Pena, whose name I cannot say. I think it has to be a starter. The problem is there's a lot of 70s. Ridley will avoid. Juan Gomez, a couple of 60s, a couple of 50s, so not ideal. Sanchez, probably the best option. Pena is at least younger, so he'll have time to develop if need be. Nielsen, also okay. I think we take the younger option in Pena, just to see if the hits can come along and develop. Let's do it. Let's take Pena. I mean, especially, too, with the help that we need in terms of starting pitching. This could be a good chance to add to it. And from there, again, Nielsen, who was okay. Gomez, who was not okay. So that's right, it was Sanchez who was the other one. And that's also who I'm going to take. I'm going to take Drew Sanchez, who's 21 and should be ready in 2 years. We actually get more in the competitive balance round. So we're going to be able to take, it was Nielsen over Gomez. So I'm going to be able to get 3 starting pitchers here, and we'll just see who the hell develops. So there's your little bit of depth being added. Elmo Hirsch, by the way. Let's see who we can get in the third round. We've already made quite a few picks. So again, like 22, 3 years away, I'm going to say no. Edmundo Guerra, still there, still fairly well-rounded. Lamar Walton's 22, is ready in 2 years. So Walton or Guerra could work. Abdul Best wasn't that great, of course. We're getting to the point, too, where it's pretty much just worth me sorting by known. And you know what? I think Chad Padilla as a reliever, probably worth taking as well. Yeah, I'm going to add another reliever in Chad Padilla, and then we'll see if either of the other two, in terms of position players, are still available. And the answer is no. So we have Alberto Rodriguez, who's 19, 4+ years away. Looks to be pretty bad. So let's go by age. Actually, let's go by ETA and age. So we got Cervantes and Ryan Fernandez. And we're going to take Cervantes because I trust unscouted pitchers more than I trust position players. We will get to make the pick here in the 5th round as well. Cervantes is still there. Let's go for it. And will we get to make that 6th round pick, or have we already made too many? We haven't. Sweet. So we'll go for starting pitcher Gary Johnson as well. A lot of players selected here. A lot of pitching help being brought in. Let's see how we did. And I feel fairly justified in that Cabrera pick, but aside from that, it's a whole lot of average. 21 years old, 69 overall, 87 potential. Now, of course, the pressure wasn't there with him being a 1st round pick. You could argue whether or not we made the right call there, though. Time will tell. He's solid and should be a decent option for us. Parra, unfortunately, is a swing and a miss. I mean, he's 22. He's got about 12 overall points to go before he's even considered for the majors. He was a swing and a miss. Pena is a 66 at 18 years old, so he could become a decent, 5th, maybe a 4th option at best in the rotation. Drew Sanchez is a bit of a miss. He's okay, but nothing great. Ray Nielsen is honestly decent for a C potential, so it's not too bad. Chad Padilla is okay and should eventually be an option. Cervantes as well, not bad. Fernandez is also okay considering it was a blind pick, and Gary Johnson's terrible. So a whole lot of average. No major game changers here outside of Cabrera, who might be decent. And you know what? Scandora probably would have been better for a high-end reliever. I think already I regret it. I think already I regret just not taking Scandora to get another really solid reliever, which, I mean, we already have plenty of help coming, and we do have some high-end guys. I mean, you guys like Boyle that actually still develop. Rod Wagner's terrible for the record. And you know what? Here, let me go see if I can find who that player was on the Marlins. Not the Marlins, the Mariners. Fuck, I don't remember what his name was. Oh, God. He might have had good potential, though. Maybe. Who were you? I don't remember. I don't think it was Ramos that he pointed out. I'm just going to scroll through all, like, the B potentials, and maybe it'll show who's there, and then you can let me know if you saw who you were asking about, and let me know if I done goofed. We get to Pittsburgh. William Tao was only an 80. Wow, so he's a 71. That would have been an even bigger disaster. But look at Pittsburgh from there. So, and Milwaukee for that matter. This might not have been a great draft. I might have that defense. Vernon Machado's pretty good. Elvis Carmona is okay. And again, there might be some C potential guys who have a decent overall, but I'm going to look at A's and B's. Hernandez is not someone we had the option to draft, I don't believe. But yeah, hell of a project. Colin Thomas is okay. Nothing too special. The Rockies take Hernandez, who's just okay, and they get, a whole lot of depth from there. Yeah. That is 2 drafts in a row where I know I fucked up, and I don't need people to tell me that I did, because I know. He's better than I thought he'd be. I thought he was destined to be like a 50 at best. I gotta be honest. Now, he still has nearly 20 overall points to go, about 18 to be exact for him to ever make it. Very similar, though, to what we saw with the third baseman that we already have. The same guy I compared him to in the draft, that being Ramon Vasquez. So, still, though. And then Townsend's not that good. Felipe Ortiz is okay. Elvis Guerrero is okay. Ridley's pretty bad. Barrett, I mean, there's no way he ever develops. There's no way. No, just not a chance. Domo Romo's pretty good, though. Wouldn't have been good to take in the first round. Wish he had fallen to the second. He did not. Let's see. Lewis Hughes, I don't believe we ever had the chance to draft. He's okay, but questionable. And Ryan Benjamin is very much questionable. Nick Dominguez is okay. Guerra is... Jesus, I didn't do well here. This wasn't a great draft top to bottom. You see a lot of teams with 60s. But there was definitely room to draft better than we did. Urban as well, the other guy we were looking at. So I called it right in that Robbie Monk was the guy to take over Urban. Problem is, I didn't take either of them. The Rays get Johnny Hirsch, who should be okay, and a whole lot of nothing from there. Greg Monk is going to be pretty damn good for them. Vince Alfaro should be pretty good. You got Jim Smith, Zach Valencia, Mitchell John, who I don't think we had the chance to draft. So just to get you a look at the high potential players here. And if I miss anybody, let me know. But this way too, we don't have to recap everything. Yeah, so like a terrible draft for Oakland. We know that it wasn't the best draft, obviously. I think again, just my desire to always get the best player available despite trading not being a factor in this series is sometimes too strong. Even this time out, I felt good about the pick. It didn't work out. I'm sorry. Is the only way I can explain it. Last year's draft where we still had a high pick, I feel like I can defend it. This year, I mean, even if it was Scandora, I should have gone for him. So overall, we have a losing record, not by much. We have some underperforming players that we need to make some decisions on, and the draft went okay compared to some other teams, but still not all that great for us. Whether or not we can turn things around here towards the end of the season, we will find out soon. In the next episode, we sim through the rest of the season, and at the end of it, whether or not it's playoffs or some big off-season decisions to make, we'll find out. I hope you enjoyed. Until next time, have a good one. I'll see you then.